So today, what I want to be able to share with you is how we were able to generate $1.5 million on an Evergreen webinar with a 6.51 return on ad spend. And I know that these numbers probably look too good to be true, but I'm going to be sharing with you just a few ways on how we were actually able to make this happen and be able to grow this business to a $500,000 per month business. But before we get started, I want to be able to share who I am. My name is Eddie Miranda, and I've been running ads ever since 2019 when things were always really easy. No longer are the days of the easy set it and forget it kind of days. I've also been the marketing manager for influencers like Grant Cardone. I ran his entire real estate educational programs with Brandon Turner, same thing, real estate educational, and people like Matt Daseno, who's the owner of HO Pro Tools, which is a SaaS company for Go High Level. Helped them make lots of money with what I did. On top of that, I own my own business right now called Dean Marketing, where I've helped hundreds of coaches, consultants, and course creators be able to get the results that they deserve when it comes to their paid ads and their client acquisition through funnels. Some of the most reputable people that I've been able to work with recently is people like Azadi. I've been able to work with people like Dent Global and just be able to have, I think right now we're at 2,000 members inside of a school community that we're helping everybody with their paid ads and their client acquisition. So for this webinar, there are 4 things that we were actually able to do in order to make sure that this was a webinar that not only we were able to scale, but a webinar that actually drove us to be able to get a $500,000 a month business all on autopilot. One is that we tested this webinar organically. And what I mean by that, the client had a organic presence and he would do an organic webinar every month. So not only did he build a good organic presence, but he also built a very good systematic way of doing an organic webinar every single month. So inside of his organic profile, his Instagram, his TikTok, he will constantly be promoting a brand new webinar at the end of the month. Now, what that allowed us to do is that one, we get to test this out with a live audience. Without the live audience, without the live feedback, you have no idea how well it's going to perform. From there, we were able to figure out what was his best performing webinar, because now we have a live representation of what actually happened. So we took his best webinar and we were able to set that up as an automation so that we could run paid ads to it every single day, and that we knew that it was going to be a great converting mechanism for us because he's already been testing it out every single month with a live audience, testing out his offer, testing out his slides, testing out his presentation. All of that matters, especially when you're doing it live. And when you do it live, you're going to get direct feedback from everybody, so you know if things are actually hitting or not. So the next thing that we really worked out with this client was having creative diversification with the ads. And a lot of people get really confused about what this creative diversification means. And I'm going to share with you just a little bit about what that actually is, because a lot of people think creative diversification is just variations. And for me, variations is just same image, you're changing a headline, or same image, you're changing a color. That's not what creative diversification is. So creative diversification basically means that you need a completely different concept from what you did before, or a completely different format than what you did before. So what we did is that we created several different types of creative diversification for this particular client. So we ended up doing things that are called webinar ads. These are ads with the client's face on there saying that, hey, this webinar is happening at this time and this date. We did hook ads. So basically just creatives that had just the hook on them. We would test different colors, different hooks. We just didn't do all red backgrounds with all different hooks. We tested green, we tested blue, black, white, red, orange, all different kinds. And then we also did headline ads. So basically there's a nice image of maybe the problem or the situation that the webinar actually solves. And then we have a nice headline inside of that. We would also have the client do video ads as well. So we will give him a script and then he will say that script and we will edit that and actually turn it into an ad. We also had testimonial ads as well. So basically, all the clients that had a testimonial, we will chop up a video, use that with a call to action. And then we would also have like testimonial ads, which would be like screenshots of Google, my business, somewhere where somebody wrote a testimonial. We would utilize that as well too. So again, this is creative diversification. These are just some. We actually used a whole lot more with him, but this is so you understand what's the difference. And this is one of the keys for us to be able to scale that webinar. So the next thing that I want to be able to talk about is personas. And I don't think that people talk about this enough. I think everybody talks about creative diversification, but I think that people do not talk about personas enough, because Meta is actually very smart in the sense of it likes to be able to get into specific pockets of people and audiences that you need to be very specific with. And I don't think that people do this enough. And I'm going to explain a little bit about what kinds of personas we actually did use in his copy that actually helped us get him to 1.5 million. Personas is very key in making sure that you're hitting all those pockets. And we did that specifically with him. In fact, even in, I think it was December with this particular client, what we ended up doing was that we actually even changed the avatar even to get even more narrowed down. Once we did that, we saw an instant feedback from the sales team letting us know that they're actually speaking to better qualified people on the actual sales calls themselves. And again, it's highly important that you call out specific avatars or specific personas in your ads, because it's going to be super hyper targeted to specifically those people. So in one of the ads that we actually made changes was we were calling out, hey, if you have a home. We ended up changing that to saying if you have a home valued over $750,000. That brings in a completely different kind of person. We also said we went from you having a business to you having an established business. That was able to get us people that already have businesses. They're not startups. They're not just starting the business. They've already been having the business and they've already been running it for a few years. And then we also go from, hey, you have real estate to you have real estate portfolio. That actually helped us get people that have a slew of real estate projects that they have in their portfolio versus I have a house that I'm renting or I have two houses. That's not big enough for us when it came to this particular avatar that we're looking for. We're also looking for people that have been sued before, because usually people that have been sued already have that pain point. I need this product in order to help me out. And then lastly, if they've been in probate court. So we made ads specifically calling out every single one of these. So we built about anywhere from 4 to 5 different personas with the ads to making sure that we were able to hit every single one of those pockets. And this is what actually helped us scale as well, because now we're just not relying on one avatar or one persona. We're relying on 5 avatars or 5 personas in order for us to be able to scale this. So it's actually helping us push the ad spend. So we're not throwing away money on an audience that wouldn't necessarily need it. We're making sure that we're pushing the ad spend into the audiences that actually do need this product. And one of the last things that really helped us out, and mind you, these are just 4 out of all the other things, but one is his organic content we pushed as ads. And I think that's actually pretty crucial because we built his webinar as an organic webinar as first. So like he built out an audience. So he's able to test out messaging to his audience to see what works. So when he was able to test out his organic content, we automatically saw what performed best. And then whatever performed the best, we were able to push that into ads. And when we saw that, once we saw how well the organic content did, we took that content, we re-edited it just to make sure that it has the right call to action. And when we pushed it as an ad, it ended up being some of our best performing ads for this Evergreen webinar. So those are the 4 things that we did for this particular webinar that was able to get us to a $1.5 million webinar and helping us scale the business to $500,000. One, we made sure that the webinar was proved out to an organic audience, and we iterated and made sure that the webinar worked. So basically, any changes to slides, any changes to the pitch, any changes to how he presented the offer, We made those changes with a live webinar. We made sure that we implemented creative diversification with the ads to making sure that we have all of these different kinds of creatives inside of the mix to making sure that Meta serves to the right people. We also made a slew of personas to making sure that we find those pockets of audiences. And then lastly, whatever performed well with his organic content, we actually took it into the paid ads and it performed beautifully. And we were able to scale those ads, and those ads were actually the leverage for us to be able to spend more and get better conversions into the Evergreen webinar every single day. So that's how we were able to get to a $1.5 million webinar with a 6.5 ROAS. We launched this webinar on August 15th of 2025. And as of the date of this recording is April 27th, and we're at 1.5. So if we keep on with this pace, we're probably going to be at a $2 million webinar, maybe a $2.5 million webinar by the time that we hit a year. So that's what we did. That's how we did it. So with that said, hope you guys enjoyed.